Okay, Father Moo back again with another quick and dirty synth tip and trick for you. This one is definitely quick and definitely dirty. And it's definitely simple, too. This is something that came up during the process of building larger sequencers here, mainly because of the limitations of my modular system. But as always with these quick tips, I want to apply them to all modular systems, and I want to encourage people who are using VCV Rack, Behringer, Eurorack, synthesizers.com, loudest warning, whatever you are using. I think you can find ways to apply, certainly today's trick, to your own sequencing and programming. So it's a pretty simple one, but if you look at this patch we've got here today, this is one of my older patches, a drum and bass sounding patch. There's a whole bunch of yellow cables that have been disabled. If I turn those on, it's quite a dog's breakfast here. But yellow in the Nord Micromodular indicates logic, and what we're going to talk about is logic and gate signals today. So, for example, if we look up here, we have event sequencer, which you can see is running from the little green light. He's running in a loop, and he's playing 16 steps, but he's set to loop every 64 steps. So actually, he does the first bar of 4 bars. This one does the second. This one does the third, as you can see from the little light, and this one does the fourth, and then it loops back to the first one again. So there's a number of settings that contributed to that, including the step length and whether the looping is on in this one or off in this one. Another element is, in this sequencer, it has a link output. So basically, when it hits step 16, if you connect something to the link output will say, I just finished the 16th step, it's your turn now, and the reset will take over. And that means it's time for this sequencer to do its job. But I'm not too worried about how these sync together, because in your own systems, you'll have your own way of doing that. That's not really what I want to focus on today. What I want to focus on is the outputs. If you take a look at the output of sequencer number 1 and the output of sequencer number 2, they're both wired into a logic circuit. The logic circuit is set to OR, and the two outputs are being essentially summed here. So OR is the key part of what we're looking for in the settings. You can even think of this as just like a gate mixer. When the gates come out of this sequencer, they go into the one channel. When they come out of the second sequencer, they go into the second channel. And the same thing happens for the third, as you can see in the second logic processor, and that's the fourth. And then the two logic processors themselves are, right now they're being sent to two different channels. This one is being sent to this gate where he's playing the first bass line, and this one is being sent to the second gate in this AD envelope to play a second bass line. If we listen to it, we can hear that. Let's just turn it up. So that very deep bass line is this one here. And that little synthy sound in the fourth bar is this one over here. If you look at the green lights here, you'll see them get triggered. Watch this one in the middle for the low one. Then he stops. And look at this one on the bottom right. So what I actually did there was I split out the outputs of two sequencers and sent them to one device and two to the other. But if I had wanted to, I could make another logic module like this. They call logic processor. Set it to OR, and I could send the outputs of the first two and of the second two, and then have all 4 outputs be sent to an AD envelope or something else that has a gate trigger input. So let's take it back to your home systems. For example, if you had 2 Korg SQ1s, you could have one running on a 32-step pattern and then only program the first 16 beats. You could have the second one running on a 16-step pattern, and you could send the outputs of those two different sequencers to a logic circuit set to OR, and then set the output to drive a single envelope or a single drum module, for example. You could experiment with different kinds of sequencers. You may get kind of wacky results. You can set different sequencers to different tempos and send both their inputs to the logic processor set to OR, and you'll get very unusual and unpredictable patterns coming out of it, I guarantee. So, I don't know if I don't think logic circuits are very trendy or sexy in the modern Eurorack community, but it's a very simple sort of piece of functionality, but there's so much you can do to build circuits with them. You can see how many OR mixers I've got in this patch alone, and my sequencers would be mostly useless without them. So whether you're doing typical logical sequences like this one, or just mixing together crazy great gate patterns from two different sequencers on two different tempos to get your Aphex Twin beats, just try the logic processor, see what it does for combining your gate patterns, and it should just be another function you might not have thought of before. In fact, some of my logic circuits, I have a passive OR module or two, and it's a useful passive circuit to have, very cheap to implement, so I highly recommend it. Anyway, that's my quick and dirty trick for today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Peace.